Hello everyone, my name is Xiye Bastida and I'm a climate justice activist from a small community called San Pedro Tuxtepec in central Mexico. I am honored to be here and I wish I could join you in person and I hope to meet all of you in the future. Today I'm going to talk about some of the principles that have guided, informed and grounded my activism because they're also principles that are needed for the transformation of this world, the transformation that we're undergoing right now, and that all of you are part of as well. And I think that the fashion industry, the fashion sector, is one that has become victim of this disconnect that we're all experiencing, where it seems that it's an industry that is only focused on extraction, use, and waste creation, rather than a circular system that is something that Mother Earth teaches us. If you see in Mother Earth, nothing is waste. Anything that reaches the end of a life cycle is nourishment for a new one. And that is just one thing that we can learn from this beautiful planet and some of the knowledge that Indigenous communities steward, that wisdom keeping that needs to be passed down and shared across the world. So I'm going to start a little bit with a bit of my background because I think that it's important to understand how a lot of people in my generation are growing up. My parents met at the first Earth Summit in 1992, the first United Nations climate convening. And I grew up, as a result, always hearing about these climate negotiations and the climate change and how all of these countries were just keeping their emissions up. And we were seeing a really unstable future. And I thought my parents were a little out of touch with the world because they were the only people talking about this. And I really thought, oh my God, if what my parents are saying were true, then we would see the impacts right now. And then I started looking around. My hometown flooded in 2015 when I was 13 years old. Mexico City has been extracting our water since the 1940s, leaving our community to dry out our culture and our way of life that was so dependent on our lagoon. We also have one of the largest industrial sectors in the country, producing pharmaceuticals, food, auto parts that creates a lot of waste and pollution and a lot of sickness for beings in that area and for humans as well. And so I started piecing all of these things together and I realized as I came to the climate movement that there was no other option but to come to it through a very strong lens of justice, because there were so many past injustices that needed to be rectified if we wanted the future to be different. And I saw that the thing that united that past with that future that we all want to go towards is the Indigenous principles that I grew up with. The first one is the principle of reciprocity. If we give, we take, that has to be something that stays in a cycle. We can never take without giving back. And that goes for our land, for our community, and for ourselves. And I think that if we see the fashion industry, and if we truly think of it as a place that can act in reciprocity, fashion can give back. Anything that is at the end of that life cycle can be used for a new one. And we can inherently change the way in which our systems operate so that we start going into that circular and spiral way and structure that in which we can have thriving communities and societies. The second principle is one of intergenerational collaboration and intergenerational cooperation and wisdom sharing, because it is only when elders share their wisdom and youth bring the energy that thriving societies can flourish, that societies can thrive and flourish. Because it is something about that mixture of people who have knowledge, but also youth who are envisioning a future where we can be creative and we can bring in future generations that is so special and so needed. And the last principle is a principle of reverence. We are here to be stewards of this planet. We're here to be protectors. And some of us are here to be warriors. And something that my dad told me is that being a warrior is one of the most difficult things one can do. because it means that you are always looking for stability and always looking for peace. And the last thing you ever want to do is engage in any type of confrontation, because a warrior is a highest level of protection. And we owe that protection to this beautiful planet that has given us so much. Right now, we are using 1.8 Earths a year, meaning that we're using Earth's resources 1.8 times faster than it can regenerate. And a lot of companies and businesses and our economic model is still based around infinite growth. But there is no place to grow into. The only thing we can do is go back to the safe operating zones of the planet for a chance of stability and true sustainability. Right now, the word sustainability has become very flat because it isn't changing any systems. The only thing that will change systems is when we start focusing on regeneration, in circularity, and in closed systems that can actually feed off of each other, instead of displacing and trying to cover up extraction and waste creation. And I believe that we today, everybody who is alive today, who can be empowered with this knowledge, but also has a huge responsibility to the future, we are the people who can be the most creative, who have that ability to truly challenge ourselves and think of a different way of doing things. And the good news is we don't have to start from scratch, because it is these indigenous principles that can inform the way in which we relate to each other and the way in which we relate to the earth. And I know this sounds very abstract, which is why the climate movement has evolved so much from being in the streets and coming out by the millions. In New York City, I myself co-organized a strike of 300,000 people, which was the most empowering thing I have ever been part of. And then the next cycle is when we were part of the decision-making, and we were in decision-making rooms, and we're still doing that. We're trying to be at all of the United Nations conferences, be involved in our local governments, and also be involved in the private sector and challenge corporations so that they can start doing things in a different way. But we also have that third cycle where a lot of litigation is coming in. And if you pay attention, a lot of the climate movements that exist today are around litigation and around laws and around international ways and international law ways in which we can change the things. For example, making ecocide illegal, making greenwashing illegal, the fossil fuel non-proliferation treaty to stop the proliferation of fossil fuels, etc., etc. And so it is these things that are happening right now, like rights of nature as well, that are bridging indigenous principles with things that are tangible in this world. And every single industry has the capacity to be part of this transformation because we owe it to future generations. And we owe it to the people that have stewarded this wisdom about what it's really like to be part of this earth and be giving back instead of only taking. And I believe that we are all part of this, we can all be part of this journey together. Thank you so much for listening today. I wish you all the best in this gathering. Especially, I wish it to be a time of transformation and a time of creativity and a time of incubating new ideas with ancestral ways of knowing. Thank you so much. Goodbye.